Hey, this is Kristen Heemstra, and I want to talk to you about social anxiety. Of all the things that I coach around, social anxiety is the one that I have found to be the most debilitating for people. I have seen it cost people careers. It is stopped people from saying things that need to be said. It's stopped people from relationships. It's made people very like they'll hermit, they'll close themselves off. And it's something that, first of all, everybody is anxious. Everybody has a level of anxiety. We're programmed that way. Fear is how we survive, and of course, anxiety is a type of fear. But I'm going to give you two techniques which I think are super useful in terms of how you're going to deal with fear. So the first thing is, there's a great quote, and it's, "Thinking will not overcome fear, action will." I know you don't want to hear that, but it is true. In order to overcome whatever your fear is, social anxiety is what we're talking about, you need to take action. In counseling or psychology, we call it desensitization. The more that you are around whatever it is that's fearful for you, the more likely it is to become normalized, so you don't have to worry about it as much. So that's the first thing. Whatever you're afraid of, first of all, you need to own it. You need to know what it is. You can't pretend it doesn't exist, and some of you out there are doing that. But take action on it. So for you, let's say it could be going to Starbucks and talking to somebody, striking up a conversation in line. You can even do it with children. Children are actually a great way to overcome social fears because they're like, they'll talk to anybody about anything and they have no judgment. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is a study that was done in the 1950s. It's a brutal study, so I'm going to warn you now, if you have any triggers, you probably shouldn't listen to this, but it's about drowning rats. So there was a researcher who wanted to know how long rats would last in a pail of water. He was a psychological researcher, so the first time he did the experiment, he drowned the rats, and they lasted about 15 minutes. And then he went back, and then in the second experiment, right before the rats drowned, he rescued the rats and he got them all whatever. And then he went and he drowned them again. The second time they went through the pail of water, they lasted 40 to 60 hours. 15 minutes, 40 to 60 hours. Why? Because they had a sense of hope. So when you're dealing, and this is great for kids, but also for yourself, when you're dealing with somebody who has anxiety, putting them in a situation where they're anxious for a small amount of time and then get pulled out and can kind of regroup, start all over again, and then go back maybe into a different situation, this builds up resiliency. This builds up the hope that they know that something is going to get better. So I was talking to a client the other day, and he has a daughter who's super anxious, and we talked about maybe doing a weekend away at camp, and then maybe doing a week at camp, and then maybe doing a summer program. And this is for a student who's a high school student, but for her, she's super anxious. So finding those little stepping stones for yourself or somebody else, super, super helpful. You can learn about this technique and so many more in my personal leadership experience. We are going to be starting it on February 13th, which also happens to be Mardi Gras, and I would love for you to be a part of it. You can click the link below to learn more information.